It's best to have a menu item for your discussion boards. That way it'll be easier for students to access them. If one is not already there, you can add one by hovering over the plus sign, going to Tool Link, and then selecting Discussion Board. Give it the name Discussion Board. And make it available to students. And submit. It'll appear in the bottom of your menu. You can move it up or down, depending on where you want it to be. If we click on it, as we're just getting started, you can see there is nothing in here. The way the discussion boards work is you create forums, and then within these forums you have the threads. The threads are how people discuss items or topics. So first we need to create a forum. We're going to give it a name. You need to give these meaningful names. We're going to make it available. Now, a lot of these settings are going to be relevant to you depending on how you plan to set out your discussion forum. Some of these might not be of interest to you, others you might need. It all depends on how you plan to use your discussion forums, your discussion boards. We can enter date and time restrictions, which means the discussion boards are only going to be available for a certain time. As with the other settings, similar to this in Blackboard, you'll have to make it available for these two dates to apply. In the settings themselves, you can have a standard view, or you can have the view where participants must create a thread in order to view other threads in the forum. This forces all participants to create their own thread. The downside to this is that every student in the class is going to create a thread. So depending on your class size, you could end up with anything from 5 to 35 individual threads, and people could be replying to any one of them. Personally, I'm going to leave this on standard view, which means that any student can view and reply to any thread without having to first make their own thread. Next up, we come to marking. There will be another video to discuss how this works. Don't worry about setting this up as is right now. You can always create a form and then later go back and edit it to add in the marking, preferably before anybody posts to it, but that can be done. So you can add your marking later. We're going to skip it for now. Then we come to subscriptions. Subscriptions will give students emails whenever somebody has replied to a thread or to the forum. We have do not allow subscriptions, allow members to subscribe to threads, and allow them to subscribe to the forum. This means students can choose to get that email subscription. You can see here there's sub choices, links to the post, or the whole body of the post in the email. So this means the email will simply just send a link and say somebody XYZ has replied to the thread you are subscribed to, or in this case, a thread within the forum that you subscribe to, and it'll give them a link directly to the post. I'm going to leave these as the default setting. Next, we have the settings for the posts themselves. The first one, allow anonymous posts. We do not recommend this one. It means people can make comments without you knowing who is making what comment. And you will not be able to find out who wrote a comment, so it's best to just leave this one off. You also can't mark these posts, obviously. The other settings are optional, allowing authors to delete their own posts, allowing them to edit their own published posts, to create new threads, allow file attachments, reply with quotes, where if I'm replying to your post, I can quote your post while I'm replying it, and forced moderation of posts. We're going to allow authors to edit their own published posts. And depending on how you want to plan this, you might or might not want them to create their own threads. For instance, you might want to make your own thread, and it would be, let's say, discussing a certain topic, and you want students to simply reply to that thread with their ideas on that topic and discussing themselves. If you allow them to create their new threads, then it means students will be asked to make their own threads everywhere. And as I said earlier, you could have 35 students all making 35 threads, and the discussion might not actually flow if everyone writes their own thread with their own idea, and they might get one reply or no replies, and then it simply becomes a posting board or a notice board where people just throw up their own ideas. So if you want to foster true discussion, you might want to leave this one out and simply make your own threads and have them reply to it. Of course, this purely depends on how you plan to run your discussion board. Allow file attachments, I'm going to leave yes. Again, this is up to you. Perhaps you want them to attach images or audios or videos for some reason. I'm going to allow replying with quote. And then we have forced moderation of posts. I'm going to leave this off for now, but forced moderation of posts means that if somebody replies to a post or goes for a post, it will not appear in the discussion forum until you as the instructor has had a chance to go through it. And when you get it, you can delete it or not allow it through. If you're doing this, you have to let the students know, because they will do a post, they'll see their post hasn't appeared, and usually they end up trying to do another 2 or 3 posts, and they wonder why isn't their post going up, and they'll send you an email and they'll say Blackboard isn't working. So it's up to you whether you want to use this or not, but just let them know if you are going to use it. And then we have post tagging and allowing members to rate posts. I'm going to leave these off. Again, it depends on how you wish to run your discussion board, if you want users to rate each other. And we click submit. And you can see here's my form. Now you can have multiple forms, but unless you really need them, it's probably easier just leave it as one. As you click in, you can see we have threads, or we will have threads. You can see our button here. Somebody can subscribe to the form. We've allowed people to make threads, or sorry, we switched off that one, but if you had allowed people to use threads, this button here would be available. In this one, you're the only one making threads, so you're going to click that. We're going to put it according to a topic, and as it's our first thread, we're going to have it introduce yourselves. And we submit. So these are how the threads will appear. You click here to go into the thread, and you can see it'll come up here. You can reply if there's another person, reply, quote, edit, delete. You have these options, in particular this delete one, because you are the instructor.